Thank you for joining us today at Teachers Discovery. Today we're here to talk about 33 tools we can use in the classroom. And I guess to start up, we'll introduce ourselves real quickly. I am Audrey. I'm a project manager. I've also taught Spanish and French in high school.
I'm Heather. I'm director of English Language Arts. I was a teacher, principal, jack of all trades.
I'm Jay. I'm with the web team.
I'm Steve. I work in the World Language Department.
And I'm Skip. So do I. So wait a second. But this isn't just tools. These
Correct.
are games that they can play on their phones.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
With each other or with the teacher or something, right?
All of the above.
All of the above. Okay.
Usually, I mean, I think a lot of them are more whole class games, where it's something is projectable on the screen, and it could be projectable, like you plug it into your iPhone or your iPad, tablet, as it were, and project that onto the screen, or your laptop, and students can answer in. There's many ways to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And to kind of like get into it, they say that, like, obviously we know that teenagers go a lot, 95% have access or own a smartphone. 88% of teens have access or own a computer. I would say most of them are not, unless it's a one-on-one school, most of them are not going to have a computer with them. They're going to have a smart device with them. And so it says, I thought it was interesting, it said YouTube is 85% of students use that. I know I'm a YouTuber, I love it. Instagram, 72%, Snapchat, 69%, and those are the top 3 apps. And
What is it again? YouTube,
Instagram,
and
Snapchat.
Facebook isn't on the map anymore, huh?
Well,
not on the top
For
3.
students, no.
not for students. Yeah, they're even
Good
like,
for them.
when I was in the classroom 3 years ago, even then they were saying, like, yeah, it's kind of going out of the way. Most of them are Snapchatting and doing Instagram.
But those aren't necessarily games.
Well, it's
No,
just-
but you can do,
Apps.
you can't do games with YouTube. There are ways to integrate Instagram and Snapchat into the classroom, as well as Twitter, because they involve
Sure.
talking, etc. And we have a book with on Twitter and those that we could use also.
Well, right now we're talking about games that can play. And I like the idea of
Yeah.
whole class games because I think that's always best for the teachers whenever we can.
Get
When we sell a
everybody-
Monopoly or something like that, they can only 4 to 6 players, and what do you do with the rest of the kids? But
Yeah.
a game, any game that she can play, I think for the whole class is
Mhm.
a lot more attractive for teachers, a lot more better for them. Can you
Right.
give us an example of one of these games that's played with phones in class
Sure.
that you know about to give us
Yeah.
an idea of sort of
Yeah.
prime the pump?
Yeah, I think Kahoot has really come onto the
Mhm.
scene probably about 3 or 4 years ago, and that's one where basically a teacher portrays it on the screen, and you see a question above. There's 4 different possible answers, and the students on their phone, they go to a particular URL that's generated, and the student clicks the answer, and they have so long to click it, and they generate how many points, and everybody is ranked, and so they're competing against each other.
It's fun.
It's timed. So
timed,
it's
Kind of like that
competitive.
when you do trivia, when you go to a restaurant, and
Yeah.
when you answer fast, you get more points.
Uh-huh.
And Kahoot
Yeah.
does this.
Yeah.
Do they charge for it?
No.
It's free?
Quizlet's
Once you
similar.
subscribe.
Quizlet is
Do
similar
they,
as well.
but you got to pay for Quizlet, don't you, to be in?
No.
To subscribe to it?
You want certain features? I think you do.
I think
but
Okay,
paid tier.
so like if I'm a teacher, technically I can find all the resources I want, not pay. If I want to have my own thing and use my
Create
own
it.
flashcards, create it, I can even write a word in, record my voice. So teacher generated things, that is one that I would pay a higher level for. However, I can find pretty much almost anything on everything and do it on and use that. And Quizlet Live is Quizlet. It's just a game format, very similar to Kahoot, except for you don't. When you press start, you are completely randomized, and you're working in little groups of like 4
That's
to
true.
6 people. But it's still
Which
timed.
one is that way?
That one's Quizlet Live.
Quizlet, and that's with people from outside your class. That could be.
No,
anywhere.
it's only played right there in the school. So the main screen
Okay.
has the main question, and you only see the answers on your phone,
Mhm.
and you have to be with your group
Okay.
to be able to do that.
But Kahoot is different.
Kahoot
30
is-
kids could play simultaneously.
Yeah, well, and both are whole class game. Essentially, Quizlet groups people into groups, and the groups are competing against each other, whereas Kahoot, you're individually competing.
Okay. So this is one where you turn them onto a place where they can get a free game.
Yeah.
In other words, right?
Right.
Are all the ones that you found so far in the book that you've found so far in the book, as far along as it is, are they all free that they can find and do for free?
Yeah. Well, in this book that I have created,
Yeah.
we have a comment.
Yeah, Jessie says she uses GimKit instead of Kahoot.
Okay.
That's another big one, yeah.
Yeah, she said actually a high school student created it because he was burned out on Kahoot.
Wow, that's
How do
awesome.
you spell
good, yeah.
GimKit?
That is awesome.
G-I-M.
Can you ask her?
K-I-T.
Is it an
Yeah.
app or is it a website?
It's both.
You played it?
Yeah.
You
I've
just did
talked
ask
to the
her.
people there.
Is it an app or is it a website? What's her name? Jessie?
Jesse.
Jessie.
Hey, Jessie, is it an app or a website?
I think it's an app. I think I just heard
I know you
that
can get to it from the
recently.
web too.
How long
That's
is the
cool.
tape delay here?
That's awesome.
I'm not sure.
Thank you, Jesse, for that. We're going to
Yeah,
look
thank
into
you.
it because that's
that's
not
a good
on my
one.
list.
Great.
That's
yeah.
great.
That's what this is all about.
Yeah,
Getting
for
ideas
sure.
from teachers. You guys are on the front lines.
Otherwise, you had just asked me a question, and that was about.
Are these things are all of the games that you've
Oh,
found and
are they
suggested so
free?
far? Will you
So-
go into
She
some
said
place?
it's a site, and they get cash in the game and can get upgrades and more cash in the game to kind of like motivate them
That's so neat.
to, you know,
That's
Mhm.
cool.
they can be played individually or in groups.
Okay.
Very cool. Can you ask her? So,
You can
essentially,
ask her
it would
Terry
be.
says it's awesome and her students love it.
That's
and
cool.
everybody is engaged. It engages the whole class.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Very cool. So in terms of the different ones I'm looking at, most of them have a free version. However, some have a free version up until a little bit, and then you have to pay to get the full version. But they all have at least something as a free version.
It's cool.
Are
So
we
you
talking about doing something like that ourselves where we set up a game that they can play? We were talking
That's
about
what.
that?
Yeah, that's one of the things that I'm working on right now.
Where all the kids can play and
Yeah,
kids,
and
Oh.
we're just creating the content essentially instead of the teacher having to
Right.
do it.
and are you creating some that will have in the future that will where the kids can play with other kids all over the country on a leaderboard of some sort?
Not at this moment, but that's definitely something we talked about.
Because Chris has done that
Wanna
in
get into.
Voces. I guess he's got that set up where the kids can play his games. And,
that's right.
Yeah, have the leaderboard.
yeah,
Yeah, that's cool.
It's pretty
We've got-
cool all over the country.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to get on that. So okay, so these games are ones that are already created someplace. The ones you find are there. Can we come up with some games that the teacher could just doesn't have to go to any site or anything like that? The kids could just play.
Oh,
Like
you
they-
mean so like they would purchase it from Teachers
No,
Discovery?
they wouldn't. No, it'd be free.
It's a
but they-
free app.
A free app.
for some kind of free app, and they just go into it, and the teacher, or something that the teacher could do, just like really simple, like I don't know. This is where Brainstorm comes in. Is there
Right.
something simple where you could just tell a teacher, here's what you do: have the kids all get out your cell phone. I want you to all Google frutas de Costa Rica, and tell me as fast as you can what are the 3 fruits from Costa Rica. And the kids all Google frutas de, first they have to hear that, frutas de Costa Rica, fruits of Costa Rica, what the teacher said, and then they go Google in, and however they can do it, and they go, and then it's got, and if they do it in Spanish, then the fruits will come back in Spanish, and the kids text it to the teacher or raise their hand when they got one or something like that. I mean, something that they could play, a game that that we could invent, that the teachers could just play instantaneously without having to go to any site or anything like that. Just
Sounds like a quick activity kind of.
yeah,
I would
quick
think that there
activity.
would have to be some type of prep ahead of time, so that way the questions are structured to get so that way they're practicing on a particular content or reviewing
Yeah,
something
sure.
that they had recently.
Yeah. Or something like, or is there a game that they could play where they text each other, or they text the teacher, or something like that, or like a. Remember they used to do. Remember that telegraph game you used to play when you were a kid? How about if you're everybody in a big circle, and you say something, the teacher says something in Spanish to this kid, or text it to the first kid,
Yeah.
and the second kid, this kid has to
Oh.
text it to the next kid, and to the
It's
next
like
kid,
telephone.
and the next kid, and the next, like that. See if
Yeah.
it gets around the circle, and see how it comes out at the end. See if it comes out the same way.
But see, they'll cut and paste and it'll be the same every time.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
okay.
Well-
different. Yeah,
Well, okay,
digital
that's not.
already.
But I'm
Um,
saying
Yeah, you get
something
the
like that. What
concept.
other things can we think of
I
that
mean,
they could just play
essentially,
instantly?
you could do Twitter something similar to that, but everybody can see it, so that kind of
But
avoids.
they do. I know they do discussion forums all the time now, where it'll be a closed thing for 30 kids, and something is posted,
Like your Google
questioned,
Classroom.
Yeah.
and kids all have till midnight to go in, and they try and create a discussion going
Right.
on, and the kids get graded on.
Right. You
What
would
about
close
that?
that's
In
homework.
Spanish?
Probably. I don't know about
I
that.
think that there's different ways that you can do it, and the teacher can preface it ahead of time.
Right.
Like you have to say something about this in the target language. And one thing that kind of reminds me of that is VoiceThread. Go ahead.
We have one more. Jessie also said there's another one called OneNote, escape rooms. That's really
escape room.
Yeah, it's escape. So kind of like the escape the room.
That's huge right
now.
Mhm.
And then they also said the GIM kit is free for only 5 kits, and then you pay. But both the teachers who we're talking to right now said they think it's worth the money to pay for it after the
Very
3
cool.
kits.
That high schooler is a genius.
Okay, what about a story? What about a story where I start out with a story and I got
that's
one
cool.
sentence and you add to it, like
Story building.
The progressive
voy a un
writing.
viaje.
Yep.
And you say it in Spanish. You can do it at whatever level you want. Like kids at the end of first year could do it easily. Voy a un viaje.
Yeah.
And then you have to say, and then what would you say? Voy a un viaje. What would you add to the story? And then you see what I wrote and you add yours to it.
Sure.
It keeps going and gets longer and longer and
Right,
longer.
Yeah, until it's the whole story.
I used VoiceThread similarly, where I would post a question and the person would have to respond to it, and then they added something, and the third person cannot repeat what we said and would have to add on it.
You know what would be better or more advanced? Was this all
in
oral?
Spanish, yeah.
That's
and,
cool.
And written too.
Oh, okay.
I
oral.
I did
to
both
keep adding on
because
with the story.
You have visual learners even
Sure,
at the
sure,
higher
sure.
levels,
Yeah.
but they had to say it too.
Okay.
But
The only trouble
but
is by
that's
the
cool,
end, by the time
progressive story.
everybody's gone and
They have to listen
type
to
something
every
in,
single one. Yep.
Is that good?
Yeah, it's challenging and it's timely too. Kids have to be on it. Those who
And
are
so
on top of it.
and you could already be thinking of what you're going to add to the story when it gets to you.
Sure.
And you could also be thinking of the words and the grammar and stuff, so you'd be ready for it.
You'd probably have to have a variety of things. 'Cause
Of choices in case someone takes it ahead
exactly.
Yeah, right.
Mhm.
But
Now,
what about could you have 2 going around the class in 2 different directions so that it moved a little faster? Could you start 3 different stories, 3 different places?
You totally
Yeah,
could.
you could have groups.
Yeah.
Split them into groups.
Three unique stories would be more fun.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
neat.
Yeah,
3 unique
yeah.
stories going around at
Very
the
cool.
same time.
Mm-hmm.
So you go, where are you? And they're hearing this. They're trying to keep track of it and stuff. But basically, you still get it all written out when it ends up to you.
Mm-hmm.
So this is oral, you said?
Both.
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 Okay.
See, that's something they could do right away. I mean, just all you need to do is write it out, say how to do this,
Mhm.
and they could do that. Somebody
It-
wrote that one
Um,
down.
It might be better to do it with less kids. So you have
groups.
6
So, like,
kids
different groups.
and it's
Go
6
around a couple
sentences
times.
or something. So
Yeah, okay, yeah. So
You
you
know
go
what I-
around. Well, but they could go around not just 6 sentences, but they go around and complete the story more. Just keep going.
But if
When one
it's,
says this,
yeah, but when I have to
adding
listen to
it.
the whole thing, if I'm the last person, it's going to be difficult, lengthy. Unless
No, you don't need to type in the whole thing. You
Well,
just add to it.
not to
I still
mention,
have to listen to it all
if it's small like that little, then you can scaffold it to like
Right.
level 1
Yeah.
for like the lower level people.
Yeah. They will automatically. That's all they know.
This is kind of similar. There's a website called Flipgrid where basically I can post a question and the person will record themselves, and then the next person who answers it can record themselves, etc. And it looks like this big grid of people's faces, like because it's just a quick screenshot of them, and it's just them answering the question, and they only have 30 seconds to answer it. And you could tell them to do it in a foreign language.
It's already on your list.
Yep.
Good. What about this one? Somebody writing this down. Add this to the list about the progressive story.
I just call
wrote
it
it
story
down.
builders.
Progressive
Yeah,
story.
write it down
Story
too.
builder.
I just call it story builders. 'Cause that's
Yeah.
What about?
do we have teachers listening?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have quite a few right now. Trying
Good.
to keep up moderately.
They got any ideas?
Tell us some of the things they're saying.
Let's see. Amber just said Socrative is another
Oh, yeah.
website that could
Mhm.
be used. It's more of a quiz type style, but
Mhm.
students can go at their own pace and get instant feedback. And teachers can
Right.
type in explanations to why an answer is correct or incorrect
Yeah.
okay.
before students take the
Yeah.
quiz. And then I had another person say that they use Kahoot Jumble, and then they also do a like choose your own adventure story, and I was trying to see if that was through Kahoot or another app.
Weren't you Amber? This is.
This one was from Amber, and one was from Joyce Anna.
Thanks, Amber. This is good. Joyce, thank you. This is great. This is what we need. Didn't you talk one time? You were hooking us up with Kahoot somehow.
Yep, I talked to their company, and the problem is is there's no way to control whether they make the quiz public or private. Like
Right.
there was no way that they were going to lock that into place if we wanted to make content for them.
But right now, all their content is on there. It's pre-made content. It's already sitting there, Audrey?
It's all teacher made, you know.
It's,
Like
there are
they
a
make
lot,
it public.
There is a lot of pre-made stuff, but you can make your own. Like I made my own as well.
Okay.
Yeah, the problem for us is that there was nothing stopping them from making it public after they got it.
Yeah,
from us.
Yeah.
Right now,
That's
we're just
true. You
talking
can
about free
copy
stuff
it.
anyway for the
Yeah.
teachers that would be.
You can copy any Kahoot.
We're talking about a suggestion book that tells them how to do free games, where to find and how to do. But you've got a lot of place to find them. But what
Right.
about more how to do ones that you don't need to go any place? You just
For
do it
each
yourself.
each of these, I have pros, cons, how to do it,
Yeah.
as well as why you would use it, and about 5 to 7 activities of different ways you can incorporate it.
What's some things that teachers could do with just their phone? They don't have to go to anybody's site or anything like that. Okay, kids, take out your phones. They don't need to load an app or go to a site or anything. Is there a way that some game
Sure,
that they
well,
can play? Like the story would work, right?
They could call each other.
They could. Also,
What
there's
would
a
they call
form-
each other?
For people
No.
who have iPhones, there's a thing called AirDrop, where you can turn the AirDrop on. You could turn on, I think it's Bluetooth on your phone, and anybody who has it on can receive any image I send. So I can take an image of
And
me
everybody-
performing an action.
And it will go to everybody in the room?
Which
Anybody
means
who
everyone
has
doesn't
an
have-
iPhone or
yeah.
an
Right.
Mac device. And
You
then
go to their-
I could just click their thing, and then
Yeah.
it'll automatically send. And it's
That's
also
cool.
a way teachers for students can talk to each other without you even knowing.
I know. Body parts. You could have this kid, and he could just take a picture of some part of his face or his ear or body part or something, and then it would automatically go to all their kids. So he puts his foot up and takes a picture of his foot or his shoe or a piece of article of clothing, something like that.
Yeah,
And,
you could.
and then the kids would do what? What would they do with that? They would. They'd
They
have
probably have to. They would have to respond to what it is in Spanish, right?
Yeah.
Right, and the teacher can make a game too with that, like who can guess it first, or they could be telling a story, and the story can have the body parts in it, for example, and the students have to take a picture of it, or maybe they could draw something out and take a picture of that.
Wait.
Go ahead.
Remember the old game that's probably before you were born, but there was a game about 10, 15 years ago. It was really popular on the internet. There was a moderator that would just show up and say, name as many candy bars as you can in the next 30 seconds.
Yeah.
People from all over the country. Remember that? What was it
Right.
called?
Yeah, I don't know.
It was
but
called
Categories? Categories.
Categories or chaos or
Yes,
I've heard of that,
categories, yeah.
And everybody would try to type in as many candy bars as they could in the next 30 seconds.
Because the biggest challenge I think teachers have is the kids have their smartphone, but it's the whole sharing of the number so that because then you get into some of that. Where the AirDrop, what you're talking about, it's a quick and easy way to have access,
Yeah.
rather than that whole, okay, let me get everyone's phone number
Yeah,
so I can,
I agree.
What about
here's my number.
What if the teacher
I had
said?
it.
What if the teacher said in Spanish? She said, "Name as many articles of clothing as you can in the next 15 seconds. Type them in," and the kids would type them in. But where would they appear then? Just on
You
the
could
kid's
do
phone?
that on anything live, like Google Classroom has lots of different opportunities, like Google Doc. They could all type it in and see everybody. Everybody has a different color ink, so you
Or
could
a
type
font.
simultaneously or font. Yeah.
How would it appear on the phone then?
It-
Not enough room on the phone for 30 kids.
I mean, technically there are apps. Google Doc is its own app, and it's on a website too.
yeah, but
so
how would that appear if 30 kids
it
typed
just
in?
looks like a doc.
You just
Just
see
a
things
white
appear.
screen, and you type in. With
Yeah, but
the
how do you know who won? Who's got the longest list?
Well, that's what we were talking about. You'd have to spend time looking at
manually counting.
color or font.
Plus,
Yeah.
if I saw you typing and you typing, wouldn't I just copy some of yours out down?
And
You
that's,
could,
Yeah.
but maybe that's something that could be made. in
Maybe
that
at the
aspect.
end of the 30 seconds, as 30 seconds is up, it's frozen.
And
Go ahead.
we have a teacher who responded.
Oh, we had one. So we've had quite a few responses. One says
Participate them all.
Flippity.net on Google is great for making your own Jeopardy games. Some people there said there's like a Who Wants to Be a Millionaire featured Kahoot. That's great. Another teacher said www.classtools.net has tons of games like Pac-Man, fake tweets, different things. And then
Fake tweets, what's that? Sounds like fun.
Yeah.
yeah.
I wonder how that would be applied
And
to
you
the
know what?
classroom.
That could be a good way to use to instead of
They do
real
say
Twitter.
that they
It's
run
safe.
into a lot of times issues of websites being blocked or
Yeah, depending on your
Well, not to
schools.
mention
internet
privacy,
access. So
giving
it's-
away private names and stuff.
Well,
That's cool.
I think Boggle works this way where if we're all playing at once, you guys remember Boggle? Where you got to find the words in the shaking up cubes.
Take
Yeah.
your word for it.
So basically it's a bunch of letters. It's a grid 8 by 8.
Yeah.
And you have to connect and make words, and you write them down while the sand timer's going.
Yeah.
And if we all found the word pie, it would then be crossed off the list. Like nobody wins that because everybody found it. So it's just
It's
the unique
obscure,
ones
the unique ones.
that nobody else got where you get the points. So maybe with this
That's
Google Classroom thing, it's timed and only the unique ones, you know, or the strange ones, or
Yeah.
you know, if everybody's got the same 5 body parts and somebody has 8.
Well, how do you?
And that
So
person
they
won.
said, Terry said that the fake tweets, it's
Who's-
formatted like Twitter, and the kids write messages that look like tweets, and then
Oh,
they have kids like in
Oh.
Google Classroom, they'll write a tweet, and then the kids have to like post a picture with a caption. So just a way to kind of, you know.
to safely do it.
thanks, Terry.
You know,
And
I
who
can
had the
s-
other comment? Did it go?
I think Terry.
Josephine
Oh.
and then Mrs. T's classroom.
Hey, Mrs. T, thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Good, this is cool. Well, what about, but where would the, if they all named the body parts, where would they, it's 30 seconds are up, where would they appear? The kids would hold up their phones and the teacher would go around and see who had the biggest, the most? That'd be a drag, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Then how would you do that?
You could text your. I mean, if it's like 30 seconds you have,
Yeah.
you could do it in a text window and send them all to the teacher. She'd have to go through them, but
Yeah, you know, that'd stop
That's
the
a
game.
lot of
It'd slow
work.
the
Yeah,
game down.
it's not a game. It ends
You
up like
know,
an exit slip.
Another thing I was thinking of for English and history class, just happened to be, we're stepping out of Spanish here for a second, but just, you know, you could do fake news
Mm-hmm.
or real news and see how many kids spotted the fake news,
Yeah.
you know. Anyway, sorry. So, but what
No,
else
I
could
mean,
you
that's
do?
what-
What instantly in Spanish, you could just instantly, the kids could do something and get instant gratification. Like,
A lot of students like to use storyboards. And so there's different apps like Storyboard That and Storybird where they create a story based on maybe they're retelling a reader, or they are creating something brand new out of content they just learned, and they can make a storyboard, either drawing or using that app I was just mentioning, where they can see it, and they get this gratification because of, you know, like it's cool to see yourself with drawing. And I think Storyboard That, it might be Storybird, has artists that do it for you, and so you see your like a real story that you created online. And if you pay, it's free to do that, but if you pay like I think $30 or an X amount of money, then you can get it printed like a book that you can keep.
Cool.
So it's like you're published.
you know, we're saying whole class play, but whole class play still could be in
Groups.
partners.
partners, yeah, sure.
So I
Small
could text you, you could text to me, and we could see who won.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be all 30,
What, and how would that work?
like the body parts thing.
Okay, I
I
text you
listen-
and I get, before the buzzer goes off, 7 of them I got.
And I had 12.
I got another
But I
comment.
send them to you, and you correct them and see if they're right, and then give me the points, and you send yours to me, and it's all self-checked. Sorry.
We have another one, I'm probably butchering how you say it, but Pecha Kucha.
Pecha yeah.
Kucha, okay.
You know her?
And that one is,
It's-
they see pictures and then describe the picture for 20 seconds, and then it switches to a new picture.
It's
And
it's
then,
a form of PowerPoint where it's every slide is only shown for 20 seconds. So you can either show an image or you can have a presentation, and it's just for 20 seconds, and then it automatically goes to the next one. So it's a way of getting people to talk and to think on their feet. But that one, I don't know, that one would be almost difficult, I think, to engage every student, but it is fantastic for building proficiency for sure.
All right, good.
Well, it could be.
What's her name again?
let's see who said that one.
What's her last
And
name?
with the quick movement, it's
Yeah.
Pecha Kucha?
It actually started, I think, in the
That one was
college.
from Jesse.
Oh,
Jesse
thanks,
again?
Jesse
Is
again.
that the same Jesse,
What-
maybe?
But Petra?
No,
No,
that,
Pecha Kucha.
that's the
Thanks, Petra.
And then Mrs. T's classroom asked, like, what about QR codes?
Oh, yeah.
Using those.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, we've been working on that for several different
Not for
things.
games, though, right?
We
Or
have
as
She
a game?
said that
We
QR
have-
is a scavenger hunt is fun, and it equals like, you know, quick gratification.
How do you do that? How does that work? Can she tell us how it works?
Let's see. Terry says she uses.
Excuse me.
She says, let's see, you can. So she has a tool that she uses and can save certain things as QR codes, and she says she could
Right.
post them around the schools,
Mhm.
and then students could answer the
Cool,
questions
that's
that
good.
they're
That's
working
good.
on
Yeah,
at
yeah,
the
yeah. There you
time.
go. That's cool.
Yeah.
Who said that? Who sent that one in?
That one was
Mrs. T?
from Terry, and then Mrs. T said that she uses it for like scavenger hunts.
Thanks, Terry. Thanks, Mrs. T.
Yeah.
Cool.
We had QR codes as well, but taking it as a scavenger hunt around the school is a whole nother level.
Yeah, yeah.
I think that's in
right.
our digital scavenger hunt book.
Oh,
I
okay.
think
Yeah,
that's
we've-
one of the
Oh,
activities.
okay.
Mhm.
That's cool.
I've seen it a little bit.
I've never seen it in action.
Fun. Yeah, you could do it. So you could do with pairs of kids.
Right.
You wouldn't have to have suffer a lot of waiting. You
Right.
could just do it. What else could you do
Self-checking.
with just pairs of kids? Could you do a progressive story with a pair of kids?
Yeah, I could totally
Yeah,
see it actually.
yeah, totally. You ever play that game at a restaurant when you're sitting waiting for your food?
No,
And
I
I-
need those games.
So
Give me one. It's like-
I draw something like this,
Yeah.
and I just keep passing it around. And
That's
then
what-
you draw an eye because you see a nose there.
Okay.
You could totally do that with a story. And even with 2 or 3 people, it just keeps going around in a circle. And,
Yeah.
when Audrey says, yeah, and I fell off my chair, then I'm next. But all in Spanish,
Maybe the teacher
obviously.
could start out the story,
Right.
give them a good story starter that's just something absurd,
Right.
so the whole thing becomes humorous and fun. Like, okay, guys, start a story about an aardvark that moved from Cincinnati to Washington D.C. and was mistaken for a diplomat. And then start something absurd, something
Yeah.
totally absurd and
Mhm.
silly, like
And then
Right.
I'd probably say, the aardvark's name is such and such.
yeah.
And
And then I'd say, and he has a girlfriend, Aardvarkia,
that dances,
on tables.
maybe. But in Spanish, all that, yeah, I mean, it's not too difficult.
No.
Right.
I mean, you can do a lot of things. Remember the guy that wrote the Spanish One love song?
Yeah.
It's quite an involved thing, and it's all in Spanish One vocabulary. It's a
Yeah.
hoot.
Okay.
You could do that.
That would be
I
fun.
could do a story in first year Spanish, couldn't you? First
A
year kids
first year
could. By the
story?
end of first year Spanish,
Sure. Yeah.
Oh,
with what
without
they
a doubt.
have,
your dog.
it's
your dog,
something
I
that
know.
would be scaffolded, but
I
yeah.
know. Your dog, start out, so the teacher, you give this teacher, in the book we could give the teacher some story starters. Your dog all of a sudden can speak. He speaks Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
And he wants to find a good place to get bones. There's the beginning of your story.
But maybe you don't go that far. He wants to find a good place too.
Oh yeah, perfect. That's better.
And then leave it up.
What did we used to
Right.
call those things? Those little
Mad Libs?
Mad Libs we
Yeah.
used to
Uh-huh.
sell. Yeah.
But
It's like a
adverb.
man.
And you leave it dangling,
Yeah, like
Like-
well, that's a story starter. But we could also do like Mad Libs.
Right.
Fill in the blank.
And I think that's a separate
Fill in
thing.
the blanks.
Adjective,
Yeah, different
vocab
separate
word.
story. Yeah.
clothing.
Wouldn't that be? Because Mad Libs was fun.
Mhm.
Yeah, it would be
But how-
advanced level
That
though.
probably exists.
Well, we do
I
Mad
just-
Libs.
didn't Mad Libs
we
abandon the
call them
trademark
closed
even?
activities, and we do them a lot with listening activities naturally. But Mad Libs outside of a context are they would be very difficult. I would say, yeah, you'd have to do it deep into a unit or upper level.
No, you can write a whole 2-paragraph story, and all the blanks are body parts, or all the blanks are clothing
Okay,
pieces,
sure,
or
okay.
I mean that's basic.
Not
It can be
vocab, not
done.
verbs.
And so how would that work? Then you work in pairs again?
Or maybe the verbs if they just have learned just like one conjugation, so that way it's like
Right.
All present tense
Right.
AR verbs or
Yeah.
something. Yeah, sure. Could fit it. But I think Mad Libs like abandoned their trademark or something. Well,
Uh-oh.
No, they still produce.
Do they?
I see them in stores though.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
So, let's see. Terry was saying that she uses. I've just lost it. Vocaroo, which is
Oh,
how
yeah.
she uses
Mhm.
it to create QR codes, and she said you can make a QR code basically out of anything. And she's doing
What?
an activity.
You can send them anywhere.
Yeah,
Oh,
send
send 'em
them anywhere. Yeah. And she said she's doing an activity tomorrow where she'll have QR codes, questions in Spanish, 4 in a group. The answers are in the hall. One student from the group goes to the hall and memorizes the answer and then reports it back to the group.
Right. So Vocaroo is a recording. It's a
Yeah.
recording website. When I was a virtual teacher, all students had to do their verbal answers with Vocaroo or AudioPal.
This isn't an idea for this book, just an idea they can do. I was looking for ideas for this book for just something they could find and do for free. But there's a thing that we could create, though, which would be like a book of QR codes. And this book sends them to one, from one place to another. That's a scavenger hunt.
Well, that's what I was thinking. We could sell kits.
A book of QR codes that really went to some absurd places. We couldn't just send them out on the internet because we don't want to send them out in the mean streets. But
images?
We could send them to images that we host it. Host the stuff, and it could be like that, and then you answer questions on it, or it could be just oddball, weird stuff. Old WAS.
And then we had another person say they use Duolingo.
Yep. Yeah, that's a good one too. And
Who's
that one,
Who
it's
said
kind of
that?
like,
Who said that?
Remember, think.
Sorry.
yes.
That was Marisol. Marisol, I think, if I'm saying
All
it
right.
correctly.
Marisol.
Yep, Marisol.
Marisol. Thanks, Marisol.
Thank you,
Good one.
Marisol. Yeah, that one's a good one in that you can manage a classroom and students start at their own level and they can even test out to a different level. And it's kind of similar to Rosetta Stone in that they ask a simple question and they pick the multiple choice answer and then they go on and it's repeated until they know it.
Okay. Well, we got a lot of good ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they just keep posting more and more throughout.
Okay, let's just work with their ideas then. We don't need to say anything. We'll just listen.
Yeah, we have, someone says they use something called book widgets. Senora Gessner says she uses Kahoot to do polls a lot.
Polls, what do you mean?
The survey.
Like a survey,
survey.
and she says uses like a story skeleton as the questions, and kids have to vote on what they want to happen in the story.
Oh,
So it's
that's
kind of
cool.
it turns into a choose your own
Yeah.
adventure.
Oh, that's
Fantastic.
cool. Yeah,
Can you
yeah.
ask her, does she use
Who's that? Who thought of this?
This was Senora Gessner.
Can you ask her, does
Thanks,
she
Senora
use poll
Gessner.
everywhere for that or does she poll with Edmodo?
Let's see. I think someone said poll everywhere.
Okay.
Can I ask a question? Can we contact these teachers tomorrow? Or do we have to ask for their email address now?
Everything will be still up on this chat, so I believe we'll be able to contact them tomorrow.
Okay.
Thank them. Be sure and give us all the names of these folks that are calling. Who are some
Or
of the other
maybe we
someones you
can-
got?
Maybe we can give them our email and then they can shoot an email to us.
Yeah. Well, give them yours right now.
Sure. It's AIRIAS at teachersdiscovery.com. So again, A is in apple, I is in igloo, R is in Rita, I is in igloo, A is in apple, S is in Sam at teachersdiscovery.com.
Arias at teachersdiscovery.com.
EDS.
Arias? Oh, A Arias.
No, A for my first name and then EDS is my last
Arias.
name.
Okay. But not Arias.
No.
Arias.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Um,
Who else is on there? Give us some of these.
Someone says Senora Gessner said she's also done digital breakout boxes using Google Forms.
What's a
Yeah.
digital breakout box?
Let's see.
Does anybody know? Senora Gessner, can
Yeah.
you tell us what a digital breakout box is?
Yeah.
oh,
Because I know you can do quiz.
can
but-
you ask her, is that similar to the breakout rooms inside of like Blackboard Illuminate?
Look it up.
Because if so, then that's a free, I mean, I would assume a free tool. Just ask her if that's free as well.
Yeah, for this book, we're looking for things they can do and it won't cost them anything.
Yeah. I do have Google Forms, but I don't think I have that.
Yeah, I've never heard of that one.
Yeah, and on Facebook, Anna said she uses Google Forms for polling a lot.
Okay. Yeah, I use
Yeah.
that for polling
What
a
kind of
lot,
polling
too.
games could you do?
Um,
Thanks, Joyce.
Well, you could say, like, ask what is our next unit, or what is our next topic, or who would like to make which kind of project, and they can vote on it. So that way it's kind of more like a student-led type of classroom.
Could you ask what's your favorite music?
Yeah, you could, technically. I actually made a lot of homework assignments on it.
Polling.
Yeah. Not by polling, but by Google Form,
Right.
using
Yep.
them. But that's cool. Thank you for the resource.
Let's see, another one said.
Who's another
they use
one?
Mind Snacks. This is Josephine.
Mind
Josephine.
snacks. That is interesting.
It can be played in many different languages, so French, Spanish, so Chinese, different.
I never heard of that one.
I just thought it'd be fun. You know, how do we, it's part of our sort of our brand here is that we always try to bury some fun in these things someplace.
Mhm.
You know, like
Yeah.
sometimes we'd have didn't we have a poster once? It was all in French except the little plane was going over and a little banner behind it was in Turkish.
Yeah.
The digital breakout, she said, is similar to Escape the Room with
Oh.
Yeah.
clues. and things like
Interesting. Huh.
that. You have to. She says you have to solve the clues by reading in the target language,
And
and it's free.
That's cool.
Okay, I was gonna say, 'cause I played that where then you have like a number, you do this first one first,
Mhm.
gives you a clue to get to the next one.
Next level and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's probably timed, and you got to get out of the box before time.
Yeah.
Does she create the questions, I assume?
I'm guessing probably.
Yeah.
Because you have to make your own Google Forms.
Okay.
That makes sense. Huh.
Good. Anybody else? Should we wrap it up?
Let's see.
A lot of great ideas.
I know, it is.
It's good.
The other ones, and Terry said she uses storyjumper.com for online
yeah.
book writing.
Yeah,
I
So
got
she has
Storyjumper.
the students write in Spanish on paper first to avoid using online translators.
That's
and then
fantastic.
Makes them
Suggestion.
build the storybook.
A lot of what I'm
online
hearing.
after.
Thank you,
I would have
Terry.
loved it as a student.
Yeah, right.
I know,
Like-
right?
Sounds like the first thing we were
I
talking
know,
about.
I wish we
Does,
had
does
these.
everybody in their
Storybook.
smartphone automatically have the thing where you talk into it and it talks another language?
No.
Oh, the Google Translate.
You gotta go
It's
get
not
that.
automatic. You have to get it your
It's
own.
an app, yeah.
And honestly, that is something that the teachers would want to avoid.
Right.
They want to teach them to be proficient and then confident. in their
Well,
own.
in level 3, if you had it, you could talk into it, and then the other kid would correct it because it's always going to be wrong. You know.
Oh, I see. So in other
nine
words,
to-
using
nine
it on purpose to teach them on how not
proofreading,
to use
you know,
it.
to watch, because by the time you get to level 3 and level 4, they should be good enough that they should spot the mistranslations. And Google
Yeah, but
Translate is
see-
done by a robot, and it's always screwed up.
I would say I could see using that in certain circumstances, but sometimes the upper levels, I think they have tried to avoid the translation so much. Just because of, I mean, I understand it because, like, if
It's
kids
just
are going in
blasphemy.
upper levels, these are kids who are
Terry,
most likely
Terry
going to
Sears
become
says in all
translators.
caps, yes, no translators.
Right.
Okay, all right.
Right. Because
Not
the
the
goal is
message.
you want them by that level to be
Right.
proficient so they can
Yeah.
go into AP and get a career in it.
Well,
And then also, Senora Gessner said she uses something called Let's Recap to do speaking assessments, and she says the students create a quick video to response to a question, and instead of having to have like all 30 students, you know, say it in class, they do the video, and she can review it on, you know, her own time.
And it's called
Oh.
Let's Recap.
Let's Recap.
Voces has that too. Voces has the audio thing where the kids can talk into it and get some
Yeah.
some audio assessments.
Is that I apologize, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Were you done?
I'm done.
Okay.
I'm done now.
For Let's Recap, does the teacher have to, does the audio wait for the teacher to go in, or is it an automatic response? Because when I was a virtual teacher, like kids would all leave these online speech things, and I would have to go in and manually listen to every single one, and then respond.
When did you become not virtual? You seem entirely here now. You seem like a
This
solid.
was back in 2012.
Is that ectoplasm that you were in?
You're funny, funny, Skip. It's no here right now. I'm brick and mortar.
Cool.
Yeah,
There you go.
All right.
Hmm.
Let's see if there's any other things I missed.
So many apps. It's crazy.
Good. Maybe that should be the title of the book. Where to find free apps for classroom games.
Actually, we're calling it 100 tech tools.
Looks like 100 plus. No.
Well, now it's 100 plus,
We
110
need games. We
actually.
need games. Games are good. Games are a good category. Teachers like games because they're
109.
fun to play. They engage the kids.
Yeah.
What are some kind of games where
Well,
we can have
they're
where
not all games. There's lots of different things. Things that get kids to write stories or to listen or to talk.
But-
Lots of things.
It's a lot of engagement tools.
Yeah.
games? We need a game book.
It would, yeah, it's not necessarily games, but yeah,
Mhm.
engagement tools or apps or resources that allow
Yeah.
them
And
to
games.
create, to
Yeah,
create
there's-
engagement.
Yeah.
I divide it up into 3 books: resources, tools, and games. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. That's an organizational thing. I guess that's about it. Wrap it up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, I got a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
Here we go.
40 minutes. It's a record.
Good job, folks.
Is
Bye.
there more?
We're good?
Sign off. Say
Okay.
goodbye.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you,
for
everybody.
coming.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
It's really
And please
worked.
shoot an email. I'm going to say my email one more time. I'm Audrey Arias. My email is AIRIAS@teachersdiscovery.com, and I'll spell it A as in apple, I as in igloo, R as in Rita, I as in igloo, A as in apple, S as in Sam, @teachersdiscovery.com. Thank you so much.
Or just call 1-800-TEACHER and ask for Audrey.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'm here. Yeah.